Good evening and welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, which means it's time for the EU division to kick off another race week here over at MRL, where we're about to take to the streets of Singapore. Joining me as always in the commentary booth is Striff. How are you doing this evening?
I am very excited for Singapore action. That is how I am doing, Unicorn. Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. We are here for the first of 5 rounds around Singapore. It's the EU division, as always, to kick off the action, and it is always a very, very spicy race. We had, of course, a very, very fantastic row of races last week in Monza, so we'll have to see how things go here now in Singapore, which is a complete 360, 180, however you want to look at it, in circuit. You have Monza, very high speed circuit. You have this, where you have a lot of 90-degree turns. It's 23 turns around Singapore, so completely different animal here for these racers.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the circuit, here it is. 23 turns, like you said, now 3 DRS zones around the track. The one between turn 13 and 14's just been added in, like you said, huge amounts of 90-degree turns around the entirety of the track. Looking towards the calendar then for the rest of the MRL grid, we've got Russia next week at Sochi, then moving on to Japan for round 18, and afterwards we take to America round 19, and then Mexico round 20, the penultimate round on December the 10th in Brazil, and then rounding off December the 17th for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Then looking at who we have on the grid this evening, over at Mercedes, it's Lutra and Jake. In the two Ferraris, we have Hurricane and Ruben. Dark Chocolate and Codders over at Red Bull. Alexander and Kana take up the 2 seats of McLaren. Sasso and Bevisk in the 2 Renaults. Steph and Tim in the Alpha Tauris. Vettel and Ifelipic in the Racing Points. And then XTXP and Relapse in the 2 Alfa Romeos. Haas has Ewens and No Conviction at the helms, and then Baza and Atom in the 2 Williams. Looking at the standings then, and it is Hurricane on top with 106 points, with Ifelipic in second, both the only 2 to break the 100 points barrier so far. Then we have Tim in third, Vettel and Ruben round out the top 5. Then we have Kana, Jake, Sasso, XTXP and Steph in the top 10. Beavisk in 11th, Lutra in 12th, Dark Chocolate in 13th place, Alexander in 14th, Relapse in 15th, Ewens in 16th, Codders in 17th, Atom in 18th, Baza in 19th, and No Conviction yet to score a point in 20th position. But with that being said, I think we're just about ready to go ahead and get racing. It's just close to 8 p.m. my time.
On a couple of drivers here, waiting on Beavis to take his car, and we're getting, I believe, Ginakari in here as well in his reserve capacity as listed. But of course, we are going to be having, if not 20 drivers, 19 drivers racing on this grid around Singapore.
Yeah, it is an interesting track, and also I think it's one of the only tracks that's had, if not the only track that's had an additional DRS detection zone and DRS straight added to it, which will be interesting to see how the drivers adapt to that and how they've taken to it. Obviously ERS as well. That could play in a very interesting role around here, as there's a lot of braking zones, but there's also a fair amount of straightaways, so a very exciting prospect this week of racing for the Singapore Grand Prix, with the changes that not only the circuit's undergone, but the game and how you drive compared to last season.
Just getting the drivers to ready up here. Sorry. There we go. We should be good to go racing. We have 20 drivers here in the lobby ready to go around Singapore. They are going to get the roll of the dice on the weather, which is something that we had quite frequently last week, Unicorn.
Yeah, the drivers throwing just about everything at them with Monza, depending on which grid they were seated in. And I know you've got a a bit of a prediction for one of the races this week in regards to the weather.
Yeah, that's right. Club division this Friday, November 6th, is coincidentally my birthday, and I have to say the rain rate on my birthday is quite high in reality. So I'm hoping and I'm thinking that may translate over here into the virtual world. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Well, here we go. The countdown timer has started. 10 seconds on the clock until we get into the 18-minute qualifying session, the first of many for this week. And I can't say I've seen too much racing around Singapore in this game. I've seen a few online, 5 laps, but other than that, I haven't seen a lot.
This will be the first ever, for those just tuning in, the first ever time we here at the Misfits Racing League visit Singapore in any capacity other than in the exhibition race that we had yesterday. So this is the first time we've ever streamed it, and I have to say, there is rain coming down right now in Singapore. There are some raindrops coming down in this pit lane. So this qualifying, we're seeing all of these drivers on the intermediate compound tires to begin this race, this campaign, if you will, the 18 minutes of qualifying into the 50% race duration. So things are already intense with that rain element coming here in the qualifying.
Yeah, and it's only intermediate weather at the moment, it would look like. All of the drivers on those green tyres, but like you said, it's still coming down here, and it's probably, we can't see the weather forecast, so hopefully someone can provide us with one of the drivers on the grid. But if the session is set to dry up, we might not see too many laps coming out on these intermediate tyres. But if it's set to get worse, then this first portion of the qualifying session is critical for these drivers to set the best lap time they can on the intermediates. And Yoda's come in with a weather report. It's wet qualifying, however the race itself will be dry.
I imagine a lot of people will be thrilled about that. Adam in the Williams will be the first racer out of the pit lane here. And one thing to talk about is who is racing on this grid. We went through the teams already, but let's take a look at who's here in a reserve capacity. We have a couple new names on the timing tower, so let's go through it. Starting at the top, heading on down through to 20th, we have Baza, Vettel, Relapse, Lutra, Adam, Beavis, as well as Jake, Ruben, Steph, and Tim there in the AlphaTauri. Ginakari here making an MRL debut. Theoretically speaking, he did it on Saturday in the Netherlands 100%er, but here he is in a reserve capacity for the EU grid. Love to see him here. He had a fantastic race on Saturday, so he'll be looking to continue with that success here in Singapore. Dirk Chocolate there in 12th, Cotters in 13th, Filipic in 14th position. Mario in 15th. He is new on this grid. He's here in a reserve capacity today, as well as Bajarn from, I believe that is the 2 SRL League. Hurricane in 17th on the timing tower. Kana as well. Mammal is here in the Haas car today, so good to see him. He had a stellar practice yesterday before the safety car unfortunately bugged and ended his race. And of course, Crampy rounding out the 20 drivers on this grid. Good to see him. He is in the Alfa Romeo today.
Indeed, Atom is still getting ready to... It's a fairly long lap here around Singapore, so again, we've mentioned it a few times at the likes of Spa, but you don't get too many opportunities to set laps. But like you said, a few people here, but I don't think I've ever had the opportunity. We saw Shinikari on Saturday, like you said, and he did pretty brilliantly in the 100% race. We were very impressed, to say the least, with how it went. But it's Atom starting in the first flying lap of the session down into turn 1 and through turn 2, and turn 2 already one place where we might see people pick up an invalidation. Turn 3, right, tight left hand. It's a fairly tricky first few corners. Now turn 5 onto the first of the many DRS straights now, but obviously with the wet weather we are not going to be seeing that in action in qualifying. Down into the tight left-hander of turn 7, one of the many 90-degree corners. Now to turn 8, there's not a lot of runoff from here. You can see the barrier very close to the edge of the track, and that's the case for a lot of these corners. And there is a tap to the wall for Atom coming through turn 9. Down into turn 10, a little bit more, or high-speed corner bit loops round into this 11th corner. And a big kick out of the rear from turn 12 for Atom. He's still soldiering on with this lap time. But now onto the second and the new DRS straight for Atom. And it appears one of the Alfa Romeos ahead of him might have had an issue. Doesn't know there's any debris on the track as Atom wrestles the car around turn 14, slipping and sliding everywhere in this Williams. 16 and 17, nicely done. As he comes under the grandstand here. It's turn 18, turn 19. 20 and 21, pretty much the exact opposite of 18 and 19. And now round to the final 2 corners. It looks like one long corner, but there's one. And there is the other, and it's Atom. He's going to set the first lap time. So 154.2 for the Williams.
This is a really long lap in Singapore, as we mentioned it, much like Spa. But the difference here in Singapore compared to Spa is there's quite a few more laps to go in this race. It's 31 laps around here, and Mammal knows it because he was in the practice yesterday. A 152 flat from him on the intermediate compound tires in that Haas. So neatly done on his debut to get it up there into some good position to start his qualifying. There goes Crampy. That's a 154.973. His teammate Relapse has begun a lap. Quite a few drivers on laps. One of them to talk about is Vettel. He is in the Racing Point, of course, partnering iFilipich is just coming down through the final turn now. We'll see what time he's able to set. He had a very interesting qualifying yesterday, but he does come through a 151.779. Vettel, his teammate behind him, who unfortunately was cost a flying lap by iFilipich, which is very, very ironic considering their teammates. But we have, of course, Vettel coming through a 152.752. He's in 5th. Times start to come through now. Both AlphaTauris, Steph and Tim, 154.6 for Steph, and it's a 154.9 for Tim. And we take a look at the gap to leader right now. From 1st down to 5th, it's 9/10, and then we have a significant drop-off in pace at the moment. Adam, Steph, and Tim all within 2 to 3 seconds of the leader.
I think they're around here as well. I've seen a couple of invalid laps so far, but not too many. But it's also fairly easy to pick up damage when you're just trying to go as fast as you can. Relapse a 153.8 puts him in 6th place. But it's a damaged front wing is obviously going to cost you time, and we're already almost 8 minutes into this qualifying session, and most people have only set 1 lap time. So you only really get as a relapse, it's a little tap with the wall on his in lap, so it won't cost him too much time, but he's not going to be too happy.
Yeah, I think there's really only potential for 2 serious laps here in Singapore with the amount of time it takes to get out of that pit lane, to get across the line to begin your lap. Then, of course, you have the element of the fact that when you do cross that line, you have to come around the circuit once again. So it's 3 laps to get 1 proper time set, and you know, it's nearly a 2-minute lap in these conditions. So these drivers aren't going to have a lot of opportunity here.
Ooh.
Especially if they make adjustments.
Dirk Chocolate's just had a big hit into the wall and has lost a substantial amount of his front wing on one of his first flyers. Jimmy Kari as well has got damage on his flyer.
Yeah, he's aborted that Hurricane in the Ferrari. Here's one thing that's very crucial. You can't really invalidate around here. So he's on an invalidated run. So he'll be looking to come in, or at the very least conserve to go again. They are on the intermediate compound tires. They behave a little differently, but the drivers are really going to be minimizing their fuel on these flyers. So the big question is, did they get the fuel load right for such a long lap around Singapore, especially with that wet dynamic?
Yeah, I think the easiest place to invalidate around here is Sector 1. So as soon as you know you've invalidated, you've just got to not waste a minute and a half, but you've just got to do a minute and a half for a lap that you know isn't going to be any use to you, so I'll have to wait and see how the drivers fare. But right now it is Philippe in that top spot of 151.7, 3/10 clear of Mammal in the Haas, who again is half a second quicker than Mario in one of the McLarens. His teammate Connor just behind him in 4th place. We're on board with
This is
Tim
just a
right now.
grueling track for these racers because we look at the wet dynamic. The drivers have a little bit of relief coming into the race because we're going to have that dry weather. But this is a tight grid. It has been all season, as Vettel has had an issue. We'll see if we can't get back him in the session here. But we have such a tight grid, and this is a circuit, in my personal opinion and experience, where you can do a fair amount of overtaking if you're doing it in the right places. There's a good amount of straights here. It's about maximizing your exits and making sure you keep that gap minimal through the turns to get those opportunities. So we'll have to see how a grid behaves in dry conditions in this race. I saw it yesterday. There was a ton of great overtaking in the practice. The only thing that was wrong with the lobby was that we had some bugs and issues like this, but it was a fairly clean race. So I'm hoping we see much of the same today.
Yeah, and I think the new DRS zone, the third one that's been added, it's second between turns 13 and 14. I think that as well could be very interesting to see what sort of moves we get pulled through there. But like you said, it's not like a Monaco street circuit where you see these tight walls to the side of the track and think that's going to be a pain to overtake around. It's actually very, very doable to overtake through here. It's just you have to pick and choose your moments because there are sections where it is akin to Monaco and you cannot overtake through them, but there definitely is opportunity to do so.
Well, as Beavis is coming around now, he's looking to set a first lap here. What's it going to be? That's going to be a 152.782. It's good enough for P6. He's 300ths behind Vettel. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that in these races, there's space to overtake. But at the end of the day, these drivers need to have that faith and confidence in the rival to get those moves done. And Singapore is a circuit where if you have the slightest miscalculation, you're into the wall. Very much like Baku or some of the other street circuits that we're used to, like Monaco. So in those situations, you don't necessarily want to take that risk, knowing that if it doesn't pay off, you could be in the wall, you could be out of the race, you could need to go in for repairs. So there's a lot of different dynamics at play here. We're seeing the rain right now. We're not apparently going to see rain in the race, but imagine we did have the rain in the race. We've seen the drivers in qualifying struggle here.
And I think part of that struggle is down to the fact that some of these drivers, because of that dry race, might be running a dry setup, and obviously that's going to give them a disadvantage here in qualifying. But when it comes to the race, that's going to have the upper hand if some of the other drivers think that grid position is a little bit more important than running a full dry setup. So it's a balancing act when you get the dynamic weather and it comes in with two different weather types for the race and the qualifying.
Yeah, for sure. 4 drivers right now in the session yet to set lap times. One of them's flying. That's Bajarn in the Haas. And we'll have to see what time he's able to put forth. He's just coming through sector 3 right now. Ginakari on an out lap. Dirk on an out lap. Hurricane in that Ferrari isn't too far behind the Haas at the moment.
And speaking of Haas, Mammal's just gone fastest, a 151.4, and Beavis has just crossed a 152 flat. So the times are coming down.
That's a very nice time from Mammal. He showed fantastic pace around here yesterday. One thing is that all of these drivers are going to get free tire choice, given it's going to be a dry outing. Bajarn goes 14th quickest, a 154.3 in the Haas. And with that free tire choice, I'll say one thing around here. The softs don't last too long. I think we're going to see a big mixture of harder compounds in the mediums and hards. I will be shocked if we have more than, I'm going to go with 6 drivers on softs. I'll be shocked if we have more than 6 drivers on softs. I'll actually be somewhat surprised if we have any drivers on softs, given the fact that they have that free tire choice. and it is Singapore. The one stop, medium hard, was, I believe, the most optimal and the most utilized strategy around here yesterday until the safety car played havoc on things.
Well, Mammal did set an impressive time on 1:51.4, but Strifium has gone and absolutely demolished it with a 1:55.5, which is almost a second clear of his rival. As Luxra has a big hit into the wall. Can't see if there's any damage on the Mercedes just yet. He is missing an in-plate.
Very unfortunate there. I don't know what happened in that situation.
Tim, he is flying. He's just come out of turn 13. But yeah, I think the guys up at the front, they're going to be very happy with that free tyre choice. Strifium currently on provisional pole, and it looks like that's an unbeatable time, but is there anyone in this grid who could be capable of dethroning him? The two McLarens right now, 4th and 5th, they're both on flyers.
Strifium, I think, is extremely comfortable here around Singapore. And the reason being is he's now had a full 50% race ahead of this. He participated in the practice yesterday. Not only did he participate in the practice race, but he won the practice race from 19th position. So he is quick around here.
Well, the two McLarens tried. They have not beaten the racing point of Mario. He goes second fastest, a 1:51.4, just beating Mammal by 100th of a second. And Kana at 1:51.9, so half a second down off of Mammal and his teammate.
Yeah, the grid's actually extremely tight in the midfield. I'm looking at that right now. From the midfield, let's go with 13th position relapse there, all the way down to, realistically, Vettel. There's a second there between those drivers. And then you have a second between the top four. So things are actually quite tight. Beavis is kind of the outlier here. In that 152 flat range, he's just out of that 1 second range by a few tenths. But he's locked up with the rest of this grid in that 1 second. So things are going to be quite tight in the racing, I think, in the midfield here. And we'll have to see how they go at the front of the field. There's a few drivers here quite quick. Hurricane, Dirk, they haven't finished their times yet. Dirk's flying. Hurricane is also flying, so we'll see what they can set here. It's their last shot at a lap.
Yeah, it makes the qualifying feel short as well when you only really get these drivers having 1 or 2 shots at the qualifying. Here comes Cramping. He's about to round the final 2 turns, but it looks like he has not been able to do anything. It's going to be over 2 minutes for him, so he's not going to improve on his 10th place. Hurricane has invalidated his lap, so he won't be improving. Dirk, though, still on a valid fly. He's missing an end plate, but like you said, this is the last attempt that he has, so he's going to have to soldier through, finish the lap out regardless of what the time is.
Well, I think these drivers will be happy to know that there's going to be dry running. Dirt Cross, it's a 1:56.9. He gets a time in, but it's unfortunately not able to move him anywhere on this grid. Hurricane invalidated, as you said, and yeah, Ginicari.
He is one of the only drivers, or the only driver who's capable of setting a lap time, because he is still on a flyer in Hurricane. As if had a huge amount of wheel spin on a turn 13, really struggling to get that Renault down the straight, and that is going to cost him big time on this flying lap for the Renault. As he comes down through sector 3, he's still got a few corners to go, but that big amount of wheel spin is really, really going to cost this lap time.
See what he's able to pull out of sector 3 here. A little bit of a brush with the wall. Did he take damage? No, he did not.
the penultimate. And then the final corner, it's not going to be last place, it's 16th for the Renault. And Hurricane did actually manage to get it to the line.
Oh, that Ferrari, very fortunate to do that, that's for sure. So we'll have to see what he's able to set. It looks like there's a massive amount of racers on this grid looking to improve, but the big question is, will they improve? Now Lutra, he in the Mercedes is flying very fast. You saw Jake pull off some team orders there, letting Jake know that Lutra's on his way.
Hurricane into the final sector as well. He's still valid here. He's only got 6 corners to go. And it's looking like a pretty strong lap so far.
He's crossing that checkered line now. He goes 1.263 quicker here. He jumps into 5th position. Now, as you said, Hurricane is going to be coming through. Ruben does as well. Ruben improves to P8. Where does Hurricane go here? P2. The Hungarian in the Ferrari. Absolutely flying, leaving it to a one-shot opportunity. And he gets it right behind. Well, 1 second behind Ifilipic.
Bachar, he's on for an improvement here, coming through the final turn. 7/10 for the Haas, that puts him up to 14th place, and I do believe he was the last person there to cross the line. So, with that being said, at Hurricane, like you said, pulling out the bag when he really had to, performing under a fairly significant amount of pressure, bringing it into P2, but his rival in the Drivers' Championship, Ifilipic, taking pole by a fairly substantial amount. There he is, 9/10 ahead of Hurricane's time. In the Racing Point, Mario, the reserve in the McLaren seat, 3rd place for him. Mammal, another reserve, in 4th. Then Kana rounds out the top 5. Luxra in the Mercedes in 6th. Bemis 7th. Vettel 8th. Ruben 9th. Relapse in 10th. And we have Tim, Jake, Crampy, which are Steph, Atom, Baza, Jinikari, Codders, and Dirk Chocolate in P20. Now, like you said, tyre choice here. Going to be very interesting. And it could provide a very interesting pit window.
That's a big thing here. Yeah, it's going to be about strategy in this race. You've got dry running. I mean, of course, you're going to have the pace element. You always have the pace element. Welcome to racing. But we're going to have a big strategy element here. And we've seen strategy elements play in these races before when it comes down just to clear running and tires. Everybody here is going to have that free choice of tire. They can go softs, mediums, or hards. They can really go intermediates or wets if they really wanted to. Wouldn't suggest it, but it is possible. So we'll have to see what these drivers choose to do once we get into the formation lap. Now, of course, if you're just tuning into the stream, thank you so much. Welcome. My name's Strifium. Joining me, as always, is Unicorn. Actually, I'm joining Unicorn today, if I'm being honest, because Unicorn is handling all the cameras today. But yeah, if you're new, hit that follow button. Of course, if you did already and you are returning to watch the racing action, thank you so much for the support. We are great to have you here. And 20 drivers about to take on Singapore.
Yep, there they all are. And let's have a look at those tyres. And, well, you're right, there's 3 people on soft compound tyres. Everyone else up and down the grid opting for the harder compounds. The top 3.
Now, I'm going to say real quick, Lutra, Adam, and Cotters. Those 3 drivers, keep those names in mind because they are your big gamblers here. They are the high rollers. They're coming in, they're going on those softs, and why would they go on those softs? They're anticipating a safety car, and I think they're anticipating a safety car within the first third of this race because those, well, actually, within the first 6 laps of this race, I believe they are anticipating a safety car because those softs, they're going to have a ton of pace, but not for long.
Yeah, I think Lucha, if the gamble pays off, is going to be the biggest winner out of them. If he can get past the likes of Kana and Mammal, put himself up into P4 at least, then it's going to be worth it for him. But he's going to have his work cut out. They've really set some blistering lap times, so even on that harder compound of the tyre, they're going to be difficult to overtake. And the thing Luke's just got to struggle with here is that Kana and Mammal, they're on the mediums. The slower tyres of Hurricane, and Mario, those are the ones he would have liked to have had in front of him, but instead he's got the medium compounds in front of him. So he's got a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of a obstacle.
They're slower, but they're not as slow. And the fighting element, as we've seen, as soon as these drivers get into these defensive driving positions and they're under threat, everything slows down for them. Cars from the back are able to catch up, and the cars ahead are able to pull away. And I think Singapore is a circuit where this can happen quite frequently, and we'll have to see how things play out once we have lights out. But 23 turns, 31 laps here around Singapore. We've got the 3 drivers on softs. We have not too many drivers on hards, only 5, and the rest are on mediums. So 12 of the racers in this one opting for those mediums. It's quite a good portion of this grid, so maybe they are on the optimal strategy. Maybe the hard runners know something they don't, or maybe that safety car element, which in Singapore is very much on the table, will throw the monkey wrench that those soft runners are looking for into the equation.
Well, according to Undertaker in the chat, that Lutra didn't want the soft tyres. He's on the wrong tyres and also the wrong setup as we get ready for lights out. And everyone on the grid, the lights are going out for us. Is the desync going to play? I guess it is. There we go. You can see iPhone selecting first gear. The lights must have been very, very short for them. It's lights out and away we go here. Connor and Mario, they're side by side, the 2 McLarens. You can see Mario there having a poor start in the number 55. But he's got his teammates still on the outside of him. Lucia is up 3 places. The softs working out a charm for him. Down into turn 5 we go, and it's Beavis. And there's a huge spin out from Ruben in the Ferrari. He's had a big crash.
Beavis and Vettel are wheel to wheel right now. Vettel has made it through on the inside, and so has Tim looking for position. Tim has made it up a couple positions here off that race start. He's looking for 3 now, but things in this grid are very, very tight. Cotters and Baza having an exchange. That's Cotters on those softs. He's into 15th. Adam isn't where he wanted to be where he began on those softs, but Lutra has made the best of his situation. And there's a big tap. Cotters into the rear of the AlphaTauri of Steph. That's going to be damage for him. Steph back through on the inside into 14th position, and things are very tight between Lutra and Hurricane. Hurricane has Lutra on the inside now. Lutra coming through. Is there space? There's a little bit of a shake, and Mammal's in a prime position to take advantage. Wheel to wheel with Lutra now. Lutra gets back through, but Lutra needs to recover from that attempt on Hurricane here, and he needs to do it well because Mammal's on those mediums, and this could be a problem for Lutra. Mammal, very, very quick around here. He showed it in practice yesterday. Now he's coming through in this race, and he wants to get a podium that he was robbed of in the practice yesterday.
Yeah, Beavis has just had a spin. He is down into 18th place. Baza seems to have had an issue as well. Cotto's into the pit lane repairing that damage that he suffered with. But so far, so good for most of the drivers on this grid. And Beavis and Ruben, 2 of the biggest losers of lap 1. Mario as well, down 3 places into 6th. Certainly best pleased with how his first lap has gone.
3 drivers into the pit lane already here. Lutra still absolutely hunting down this Ferrari, and pushing like this for Lutra on these soft compound tires. He needs to get these moves done early. We're on lap 2, and he's got about 4 laps of serious threat to these drivers ahead on the hards, I think, before this pace starts to really come off a cliff, considering how we saw them develop in the race yesterday. Vinakari is watching a serious battle here between Dirk Chocolate and Beavis.
Lucha just looked up the inside of Hurricane, not making the move stick. DRS yet to be enabled, but he's reminding Hurricane that he's there.
Beavis hunting down Dirk. They're wheel to wheel now. Beavis is going to have the inside into the right-hand turn here. Dirk, I do believe he has lost out the position. He's still battling on the exit, however. but that is going to be Beavis through into 15th, and Ginnakari, good friend of Dirk Chocolate here, is in the Renault for the day, and he'll be looking at the Red Bull for 16th position as well. Kana takes the fastest lap, a 140.2 in the McLaren. That's P5 right now for him.
Yeah, and up and down this grid, the gaps are still very tight. Is Ginnakari going to have a look down the inside of the turn when he is, but he's not going to be able to make the move stick, but relapse picking up a 3-second time penalty. Bottas and Barza as well. They've had an exchange. It seems Barza has had an issue.
Yeah, Dirk isn't going to be happy that Ginnakari is giving him a problem right now. Here we have it, the DRS, the snap to the line, and there we have a brush with Ginnakari in the wall. Did he take damage? No. Very fortunate for that Renault as we come wheel to wheel through the left-hand turn, and there goes Ginnakari picking up a 3-second time penalty. Well, Dirk Chocolate holds the position just to put salt into that wound.
And the battle for second is starting to heat up very much. Mammal on the mediums. He's getting very close to the rear of Lucha around a few of these corners. Lucha obviously
still very tight.
Yeah, and that's even with the tyre discrepancies that we've got around the place. We haven't had that safety car yet, but these soft runners might be banking on, like you said, as Lucha loses his end plate into the wall through 19, and that's going to cost him big time.
I think he's going to pit here. I think he's going to pit immediately. Yeah, he's getting off the softs. He knows that he needs to get a massive undercut now. He needs to get that damage in. He knows that this is a very fast grid. He gambled on the safety car. This is still a gamble on the safety car. He can still get saved should that happen.
Ginnakari gonna have a look at Dirk again down into turn 1. This time assisted not only by ERS but DRS as well. They're side by side going down into the first corner, and it is the Renault up into P15.
Yeah, not much available to Dirk in that situation for a defense here. Ginnakari with a clean cut overtake into 15, neatly done. Now, one thing to look at is how things are starting to keep themselves tight to that 1 second range, while Mammal has other plans for these hard runners. Now that Lucha's out of the equation, that has promoted him into third, of course, and these two drivers ahead of him on those hards are going to have to contend with the medium runner for some time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it all depends. They're both going to be going for a one-stop, presumably, but it's going to be at different times, so we'll have to see which strategy prevails there. Obviously, safety cars could play a big role into that, and it's just if and when that safety car comes out as to which strategy it benefits. And Mammal right now absolutely filling Hurricane's wing mirrors with the image of his house, and I'm sure Hurricane is going to be well aware he's replaced one hard charging car on a softer compound of tyres with another, this time mediums though. Rather than the softs, he held back Lucha. Can he do the same with Mammal?
Relapse is hunting down Jake here, and the big thing is if Hurricane loses that DRS on Ifilipic, he's in a really big bind here.
I think he already has, to be honest. The detection zone is just around this corner, so I don't think he's going to have the DRS coming out of turn 5 here. And Mammal
somehow
is.
Yeah, he's lost it. So Mammal now, look at the carry of momentum. He's not even utilizing too much of that battery. He can see the rear wing is closed. And he's just going to be patient here because he doesn't want to give Hurricane any excuses to get away.
Well, Hurricane's actually clawed himself back under 1 second, so he might just get it through the next DRS detection zone. We'll have to see. He's closing big time. Ifilipic struggling on this part of the track. This second sector just not seem to be suiting that racing point at all, and I think Hurricane has put it back itself back into DRS range. You can see the rear wing now on that Ferrari wide open, so he's saved himself.
Yeah, he has, and one thing here is Vettel and Tim hunting down Mario. Vettel looks at Mario with a big lunge, but does he get the move? Oh, that was so late. I don't know if that was a good idea there. He's so fortunate. But Vettel has Tim breathing down his neck. There's a train for P5 right now. Jake is catching up. Jake has relapse coming along with him in this equation as well. So We'll have to see how this train unfolds. All of the drivers on a mixture of tires right now. Mario on hards, being followed by hard runner. We got Tim in the equation. He's on mediums. Jake on the hards has relapse charging behind him, and Crampy, really not a lot of these drivers are too far from one another. Any major mistakes could play a big issue. Vettel now on the inside into turn 1. Does he get the move done on the McLaren? There's going to be a little bit of a tangle between the drivers and their wheels, but it is going to be Vettel through into 5th. Tim has a look, but of course Jake has caught up with this action. Mario isn't going to be too thrilled. He needs to hunt down that racing point. Meanwhile, it's Vettel's teammate leading the race, and there's been an issue. Baza has retired the car just coming into Sector 3. Are we going to see this spark something? There's nobody near him on circuit right now. It is going to give us a VSC.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened to the Williams there, but unfortunate for him. And I do believe he was one of those guys who started on the soft compounded tyres, and he's already pitted once in this race. Now with the retirement, very unfortunate for him, and everyone just waiting for this safety call, this VSC to end. But so far, very little has separated a lot of these drivers on this grid. The battle for first still super tight. There's 4 cars up at the front. Then we have this huge train for P5, and here we go. We are back to green flag racing, and it doesn't look like anyone's going to be able to take advantage of anyone. Their reaction times very similar down the grid.
I'm still focused in here on Mammal, this grid, that VSC. We've seen it happen in races where it can really bring a grid close together, or it can really spread it out, and I think it just left things as it were when the VSC, well, before the VSC came out. Mammal on those mediums, he's still hunting down Hurricane, and Hurricane no DRS on the straight heading into turn 1. This is going to give Mammal a good opportunity to catch things up, especially heading into that next DRS straight, I should say. I'm talking about trains following Vettel right now, but of course Mammal has Kana behind him on the mediums. I think they're both going to be looking to get position on these hard runners.
Crampy, he's had an issue. He's spun it out of turn 3. He's lost a lot of damage on that car.
He's got some cars coming through here. A Renault, that's Jinkari. We have Dirk heading through, and there goes Crampy now getting back going. Where's Lutra? Is he going to get the position? Yes, he does. Relapse has been following Jake for at least 4 laps now that I have seen and that I have been paying attention to closely. And we have Tim in 7th. Right on the rear of Mario. Tim is on mediums, Jake is on hards, and I think Relapse and Tim right now are on the faster tires, but the dirty air here in Singapore, the inability and the tightness, well, the inability to overtake with the tightness of this circuit right now, I think everybody is kind of just getting comfortable. I think we're going to see a lot of risks being taken a little bit later in the race when the fresher tires come out. Took some time for the grid to get spaced out. Once these drivers come in for fresh tires, they're going to have a little bit of free range to make moves through the field. Right now, everything's super congested. I don't think anybody wants to take any serious risks.
Well, I think the thing is, everyone wants to preserve their tires. They want to just make sure they get the most out of it, because most of these drivers are battling people on a completely different strategy. Everyone wants to go for the one stop, but they need to pit at different times. And Jake a little bit wide on the final corner. Is that going to cost him any time? Pushing the car behind, it doesn't look like it. But so far, everyone just needs to conserve their tyres to the maximum. They want to get the most out of what they've got. And most of these drivers use a very different compounded tyre to that of the cars ahead.
Mammal still within half a second of Hurricane here. One thing I want to bring our attention to, Adam, he's on 7-lap-old, soon to be 8-lap-old soft tires. I want to know when he's going to come in, because now Crampy, of course, he had that big issue. He's going to come in. He's going to get onto some tires here. What are they going to be? Does he think we could see a safety car? Does he go into some softs? He's going to jump onto some hards here. So that also gives him a little bit of availability for those softs later in the race should he want to go, should there be a late safety car, which is another thing that could come into this race. There's so many different dynamics at play here in Singapore. It's such a tight circuit. It's a tight grid. The softs don't do very much, so you know, look, we saw only 3 drivers start this race on those tires, and Adam's the only one left on them. Dinakari and Dirk exchanging. Wheel to wheel right now. Gianakari holds it in 13th.
Yeah, these two have been at it all race, and they've got Lutra. He's going to have a look at the inside of not only that, but he's getting very close to the rear of Gianakari as well, but it is just 14th for Lutra. I'm sure on those slightly fresher mediums, he's looking to hunt his way back up this grid, and I'm sure Gianakari is next on the Mercedes list. Relapse as well, looking at Jake down into turn 1, not quite close enough to get past the other Mercedes.
Look at the position changes on this grid right now, watching this battle unfold between Relapse and Jake, as well as Lutra and Gianakari. Adams come into the pit lane finally at the end of lap 8, off of those softs. But let's take a look at the position changes here. Mammal, Kana have both made up one position. Felipe and Hurricane have been deadlocked as the front two runners. But Vettel has made up 3. Mario has dropped 3. Tim and Jake are having great races here. They're both moved up 4 positions. Relapse is up 1. He's looking to make it 2 when he finally perhaps catches Jake here. But of course, Bajarn also in the points in that 10th position. He has made up 4 positions. Gianakari up 5. Dirk up 6. Cotter's up 4. We've got, of course, like I said, Mario down 3. Beavis down 4. Lutra down 6. Ruben down 8 positions, Steph down 3, and Crampy down 6. Baza out of this race, so of course he has lost some positions. But it's been a very dynamic first third of this race here. We're just about to head into lap 10. 31 laps in this race. We still have not seen a full safety car. The grid is still keeping quite tight. Trains and battles happening all over the place, but I think we may just see a safety car at some point. I mean, 31 laps, 20 drivers, Singapore, full damage. I'd be shocked. I'd be happy to not see a safety car, but I think it would be too good to be true.
Well, so far the racing has been very clean in this race, and that's what we love to see from these drivers, and everything's getting nice and close, and DRS trains are starting to form. The front four, they're starting to spread out right now. They've all lost that DRS train, and it's still this battle for what is now 7th as Mario breaking away a little bit. But,
well, something to talk about here is Lutra. He's the only driver, realistically, that has stopped, that has passed a driver, well, who hasn't stopped. Dirk Chocolate and Gianakari yet to stop in this one. Lutra has stopped. He's in 12th position. Everybody ahead of him from 11th to 1st, no pit stops. The gap to leader from Felipe down to Dirk Chocolate is 33 seconds, and he's still fighting with Gianakari here.
Yeah, they are side by side coming down through turn 8 here, and it's Dirk Chocolate holding 13th around the outside. He's just inherited it from the Renault. But Dirk seems to have got that move done for the time being, but given how the battle's been going so far, we'll see those two exchange positions in just a few laps time, again and again, until this race ends. I would think they're on very similar strategies, so unless one of them goes for an undercut and it works big time, then we'll see. But the battle for 8th rages on as Jake gets a bit wobbly. Is that going to open the door for Relapse through the final 2 corners? Relapse very wide.
Well, this is what I was going to say. I think these mediums, Jake has been holding so well here against this Alfa Romeo, and he's been sticking so well with Tim. He's just got some good pace, and he's on these hards, and these tires are going to last longer than the driver both ahead of him and behind him in Relapse. So he's in a unique position, and as long as he's able to, well, hopefully not take off his end plate there as he brushed the wall. Yeah, he's lucky, but he almost took off an end plate. So as long as he's able to keep the wing clean, I think he's in a good running position here.
Atom on some fresh tyres. He's looking pretty close to the rear of the Red Bull of Codders. Codders dives to the inside to try and break the slipstream, but the pace that Atom has with that DRS absolutely breezing by. A little bit wide through turn 1.
Codders, I think he just caught a little bit of that Williams because he had a spin. Caught it well, though. No damage. Jake, Tim, Relapse, they are deadlocked right now. in this fight for 7th position. Jake has a weave out to the inside. Rear view of Tim. Wants to put the fear in. See if he'll make a mistake in the defense. Something that we are very familiar with from the Dutchman of Remco van Putten. Not with us in the EU grid, but we've had plenty of opportunity to see what he's able to do behind the wheel.
Wobble out of relapse this car, but also worth noting Hurricane up in P2 just picked up a 3-second time penalty, as it looks like Tim is into the pit lane.
Relapse has had a big issue on his pit entry here. He's going to lose a massive amount of time. He caught the wall coming around the entry lane, and this is, I think, now held up Bajarn as well, and Bajarn on top of this has just taken a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane, so he's not going to be too thrilled about this.
Well, not only is that spin going to have cost him time, but also the wing change is going to cost him time. It's going to lose the position to Bajan for sure, who all three of them going on to the hard compound of the tyre. But that's a huge mistake for the Alfa Romeo. Lutra looking at the rear of Beavis. DRS enabled down the first of 3 DRS straights around the outside, late on the brakes. The Mercedes.
Holy
An
shit.
Absolutely brilliant move around the outside.
Pardon my... I kind of just... wow. That's all I gotta say. Pardon my French there. I didn't mean to drop that that word on the cast.
Well, absolutely brilliant move. Stunned silence from us, but...
I think he took a warning, though. At the very least, like, he's lucky, because I think he might have been shown an illegal overtake, because you gotta think, we're on the strict corner cutting. He comes around, you know, theoretically speaking, Unicorn, you and I both know it because we race as well. That would 9 times out of 10 be an invalidation of some capacity or an illegal or a penalty. He came out of that unscathed. So a little inconsistent there. Hate to see it. It is what it is. Now look at the tire differentials coming through on this grid. Drivers have started to pit. Gaps are starting to form. We're on lap 13 here. The unlucky lap 13. We'll have to see if anything happens as a result of that number.
Well, Domi in the chat is saying that because he was ahead when he came off the track, the illegal overtake won't be handed to him because he's gone for that lunge around the outside. So when he crossed that line, maybe he picked up a warning, but because he's already made the overtake, he's got away with it scot-free for the time being. A few other drivers coming into the pit lane. Beavis, Dirt Chocolate onto the hard compound of tyres. It looks like Cottas as well is entering the pit lane. Still on the rear of Shinikari. Doesn't look like he was within the DRS detection zone before turn 5, but he's catching the Renault pretty quickly. And is looking to take 9th place from him in the next lap or so.
Dirk has Steph right on his rear right now. Dirk on these fresher hards. Steph, his tires are going to be a little bit warmer here. DRS now. Dirk with a bit of a weave. Not entirely sure what that was. Steph dropped his throttle. So maybe he thought that the Red Bull was losing control. Yikes. I don't know what happened between those two. We're going to jump with Tim now, as he said, on the rear of this Renault. DRS now, overtaken utilization. Clear ahead of the Renault. Into 9th position now as Kana is really the first of those, you know, that front pack to come in for some tires, and it's the hards, Unicorn, to the end. And he's the first to really indicate, yes, I am on the one stop. Hello, my friends. And we'll have to see where he lands in this grid now. There's someone absolutely tearing down the pit lane. That's Lutra. Where's Tim? Tim's just coming through the final turn now. So Kana has safely come out in P8 here.
And Luke's done very well to get ahead of Connor, and it's a fairly substantial gap as well, 3.5 seconds. So obviously Connor not the front runner in this race, but with that gap, it might put the likes of Mario and Vettel under a little bit of pressure for when they come into the pit, because Luke is not going slow on those tyres, but he is going to have to pit again before the end of this race. We'll have to see how his strategy
Unakari
plays
has
out.
made a call here to come into the pit lane for some fresh hards now. Crampy is just past him. Crampy's had a very up and down race. He's currently in 17th on hards now. He's going to have the Renault breathing down his neck. Steph still holding with Dirk here. Dirk on the fresher rubber, I think, will have an opportunity to pull away. Of course, if pace is at play in that. We have Adam under threat from Relapse. Relapse on these fresh hards. So quite a few little battles unfolding here as Mammal has pulled the pin. He has come in now. He's going to get off of those mediums, and I imagine we'll see what we saw from Kana in getting onto those hards. Yep, there they are.
Yeah, not too surprising. The one stop around here, definitely the strategy of choice for nearly every single one of these drivers. And like you said, Relapse just putting his car right on the gearbox of Atom. He is not letting that Williams get away. Not really any overtaking opportunities through the latter part of Sector 3, but I'm sure he's going to have a nice little run down into Turn 1. And if not, he's going to reserve himself for that first DRS straight.
Oh, Mammal has come out in P6 ahead of Lutra as we have Relapse on the outside of Adam. Clear ahead into Turn 1 as easy as you like. Adam a little bit deep, perhaps brushing that curbing a bit too much on the second turn, but Mammal on those fresh hards, he's come out ahead of Lutra. Lutra is within DRS range at the moment. Kana on those fresh hards is going to be looking to catch up. If Lutra is able to hold with Mammal here, this is absolute perfect for Kana. But if Mammal pulls out of Lutra's DRS range, which has now been the case, as he's pulled out massively here, almost 4/10 out of the DRS. This is a bad news for Kana.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to go for that slingshot, and it's bad news for Lucha as well, because he's still got to make a pit stop as well, so already falling off the back of these guys, he's going to fall further down the grid when he pits, potentially for some softs. There's a yellow flag, it's a Williams, it's Atom. No, it's not, it's the Haas of Bajan.
Yeah, he's come around through that tough left-hander into that DRS straight here, and I'm taking a look for damage. He is extremely fortunate. So no damage, just some tire degradation to go with it. But he will be able to get back going again. He's been having a good race. He's still up one position from where he began, so it's not a total loss. But I hate to see it. Now Steph has had an issue here. A lot of fighting happening. Crampy, Jinakari, Steph. We saw Steph most recently hunting down Dirk. Well, Crampy caught up with Steph, it would seem, and there's a bit of brushing with the walls here coming through Sector 3 now. Yellow flags popping up, but not too much fighting, not too much super tight fighting throughout the grid. Beavis is quite close to Adam. We have a yellow flag through Sector 1, and there's a Haas.
Again.
Still struggling here, car coming through, that's Dirk Chocolate. That almost looked very bad. Beavis gets ahead of Adam into 11th position now.
Yeah, nice little move. He was very tight coming through Sector 1, and then the DRS straight between turns 5 through turn 6 and into turn 7, allowing him to make that move fairly pain-free. His teammate Jinakari looking to get past Crampy. He's in the DRS range of the Haas. There is another DRS straight coming up in just a moment for him. And Crampy on the rear of Bajan as well, who's probably struggling with tyre temps right now after a couple of spins. Into this DRS straight, the newest DRS straight to the circuit. Between 13 and 14, and no position changes for this battle for 15th place.
Relapse so tight right now, 2/10 in it between him and Tim has come into the pit lane. Jinakari in 17th position, still hunting down Crampy. Lejeune, after his struggles, has come under threat as a result.
And the thing now is, when do these hard runners come in to the pits for the mediums? It's not going to be too long now. You can see Ruben on 14 lap holder mediums. He's proving that you can go to the end if you pitted now, if you wanted that big undercut. I wouldn't be surprised to see them all go at least a couple more laps to lap 19 or 20.
Yeah, and that's a big thing here is all of these drivers, the top 5, still need to pit in this race.
Yeah, they don't have a huge gap to some of the cars behind. Obviously, Lucha and Relapse is a big difference there. It's 23 seconds between 8th and 9th. Vettel is into the pits. He's going to get onto those mediums to the end, presumably. And we still haven't seen a full safety car here. We've had one VSC in this race after Baz, the only retirement, crashed out earlier. But Vettel now, is he going to meet Connor out of the pit lane? I don't think he is. He's going to cut off the first corner, but...
No, he's got him. Kana's got him in the McLaren, so Kana is going to be happy about this. Mammal is going to be happy about this. It tells Mammal, hey, when Jake pits, I'm going to be P4 here, and if he's able to hunt down some more time to Jake ahead right now, 6.5 seconds the gap, he could be in for a serious podium.
Well, Luke just coming to the pit lane as well. It's going to drop him a few positions, but not too many. He's going to get put out right behind the Renault of Bevisk.
Well, he's in the points on fresh mediums, just like Vettel. And all of these hard runners are going to be coming in soon. So if he's able to really gun it here, really hammer down on that throttle and push, 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 he could be able to get a few more points out of this equation, which is a best case scenario considering how things went in the beginning of this race. He took a very, very big gamble on an early safety car. Obviously, that hasn't paid out, but it might. Oh, Beavis. What a snap coming out of the Renault there. Lutra has just inherited an additional point as a result of Beavis and his error. Massive snap coming out of that Renault. Very good catch from him, but it could almost have been race done.
Well, I think it's a really nice strategic call as Ginicari takes a tap into the wall. Again, seems lucky that he hasn't taken any damage. Just Ruben, he's out of this race.
What's happened with Ruben? The VSC has been deployed. The Ferrari has had a major issue. It looks like he might have missed his braking. Straight into the wall.
I think he might have tapped the left-hand wall there. Maybe turned in too early and bounced out into that off-track area. It is only
Jake
a VSC.
has taken advantage. Jake has taken massive advantage here of this VSC. He's come in. He's gotten a pit stop out of the deal. He's on some fresh mediums. What an interesting race. Jake's having a stellar drive here. He's up 5 positions into the points. Dirk Chocolate has also had a unique race. He's up 8 positions in this.
Yeah, not going too badly for the Red Bull driver. We know he's not the biggest fan of the rain, so qualifying didn't really go his way. But the race looking pretty strong here around Singapore. Now, back to green flag racing we go. Crampy and Bajar, they're having a battle down into turn 1. Crampy, very nicely passed.
Lutra as well, looking at relapse, so tight right now between these two, and there's a massive rubber differential for the tires. Look at the exit traction coming out of this Mercedes. He looks around the outside right now. He's got so much more ability in this car. He's going to look through now the inside. He gets the move done into P8, and these mediums are unlocking a lot of opportunities for Lutra here. I think he's just going to pull away from relapse now in P8, his teammate in P7.
Super clean overtake from Lucha there. Perfectly executed. It's what you want to be doing if you are one of these drivers. Just that cutback he did, utilising that additional traction. He knows that relapse struggling a little bit for grip, and now he's taking full advantage.
I
Vettel
think these
well.
riders are making a massive mistake staying out this long.
The only thing I can think of,
they want a safety car.
or they're going for softs to stay out 5 more laps, as Vettel proving that the medium tyre And DRS, very beneficial, flies past Connor and gets fastest sector 1 out of anyone this race, just to add salt to injury. So he's now flying up into P4, but with these runners up the front staying out, I think if Mammal pits right now, he'd definitely be behind Vettel when he came out. Mario as well, he's not clear cut ahead of him, 12 seconds, I think he'd be behind as well. So Vettel right now, possibly in a net podium as of right now. Whether the softs can save them at the end, we'll have to wait and see. But the front runners, they're taking a big gamble if they're going to try and go hards to softs in this race.
I think that these top 3 are making a crucial error here, and I could be wrong. I'm the commentator. I'm not the one in the car here, but I'll explain my. Well, we've had a double exchange here. Relapse and Beavis are exchanging right now, wheel to wheel. Dirk Chocolate and Crampy have just had an exchange. Bajarn is in that train. So things are heating up in this fight for the final points position. Between Beavis and Relapse, Crampy's looking to hunt down, and Mario has pulled the pin now, but he's going on mediums, and I think that's the right call. You brought up going on softs, and I think that to come out in traffic on softs is suicidal for these racers because they need them to last a certain amount of time, and Mario's going to fall out of this grid. He was the one furthest back on those 2 front runners. Where is he going to come out here? He's coming out in what I believe is 7th because Lutra's just rounding that final turn now, and penalties are going to play a role. Lutra just took a penalty. But one thing to note here is Felipe and Hurricane, when they come into the pit lane, this is a very unique pit entry and exit here in Singapore. What happens if they take a 5-second penalty on entry, which is something that I think is extremely likely in this race? And if they don't nail it, they're going to lose time.
Well, I think for Felipe and Hurricane, I don't know whether they would come out in traffic. They've got 20 seconds. Well, Felipe just got 27 seconds, pretty much 28 to Mammal. So I think he could go onto the softs fairly safely and pick up flying lap for himself. The gamble really is for Hurricane, and for Hurricane, if he didn't trust that strategy, he has to pit for mediums pretty much now.
3 seconds. He's just taken 3
That's
seconds.
A second at least, I think.
That throws softs, I think, completely out the window for him because, well, he's just crossed it as well into the 21st lap. But I think that completely throws softs out the window for him. I think he needs to pit now because Mammal's gaining on these 2. That 19-20 second gap for Felipe isn't going to be that in the range for softs. I do not believe you can one-stop softs. I don't care who you are. Not take a win. Not and take a win.
I think Felipe is playing a very, very good game right now because he can pit for softs in my mind. Hurricane, on the other hand, is Shinikari tries it up the inside into turn 13, almost spinning Bajarin, just costing himself a lot of time. But going back to the strategy on the front, I think Felipe can afford, because he's got that gap to Mammal, but he knows Hurricane needs to pit, whereas Hurricane does not have the gap. He does not have the gap to come out close behind Mammal if he pitted for soft. So Hurricane, he's trying to cover Felipe, but what he needs to be doing, and should have done about 2 or 3 laps ago, is cover Mammal, and he hasn't done that. And I think he's going to lose out big time as a result, because Felipe is playing him like a fiddle here. He knows he can go on to softs, pick up that extra point for fastest lap, presumably, whilst he's at it. And then Hurricane is going to drop like an absolute stone. And I think Vettel could be on this podium. And Hurricane, even if he pits for softs, he's got at least 6 seconds of time penalties. So he is not going to have a good end to this race, I don't think.
I'm telling you right now. For those in the chat, first off, what do all of the race engineers and strategists in the chat think about this race? Let us know your issue. Steph's had an issue now, so he's getting off of those hards, and he's retired the car, so he's not thrilled about how things ended. Hurricane's sticking out with Felipe. He's sticking with what Felipe does here. Mammal, 17 seconds now, so he is taking a lot of time off of these drivers. Vettel is now in this equation, and he's on those mediums. Mario's on the fresh mediums, and he was in 3rd when he pitted for those. So lap 23 presently out of 31 here in this race. It has been, I have to say, it's been quite a good race. Looking at all of the strategy, I've been thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah, I love the strategy involved in these races in Singapore with the wet qualifying as well. It's really lived up to that expectation of what I like to see from Elite Racing. It's a different dynamic that we've got here this evening, and like you said, it's been very enjoyable to watch. Everyone else is enjoying it as much as we are, as Shinkari again getting to the rear of Barshin, and he's had an issue. He's managed to hold on to P13, not an overtake. He's swatted. The track was wider there. Anywhere else, Shinkari would have eaten that opportunity up, but here with the close walls, not able to squeeze through. Vettel's getting nice and close to Mammal, like you were saying. He is now on the back with DRS as well, so he's going to be happy. And Ifilipic, is he going to come into the pit lane? I think he is. Here he comes.
What tires?
Soft tires, surely.
And there it is. 5 seconds for the race leader for speeding into the pit lane. Hello! And that is why the strategy isn't going to work. What tires is he going on? Softs. He is absolutely toast here. I know he's fast, but I'm telling you, I think that we're going to have an upset. I think we're going to have an upset.
I think he's fine as long as we don't have a safety car.
Well, we still have opportunity for that. Look at how tight things are in that fight for P12 right now.
There he is. He's come out just ahead of Mammal.
That's good for Mammal.
Well, I don't think Mammal's not
Even
going to have
better for
DRS. Mammal's not going to have DRS, so Ifilipic on these soft tyres is going to breeze away. And I think as long as we don't have a safety car, as Vettel's looking past the Haas down into turn 7, a little bit of contact between the two, and that is Ifilipic's dream. He is going to be very happy that these two are fighting this hard. His gap is already 2 seconds. He's got 5 seconds we know of. If he's picked up any other along the way, I don't think we've seen it.
He needs one warning to take another 3. Ifilipic is just dancing on the edge of 8 seconds in penalties. Vettel and Mammal are hunting him down, and I'll tell you what the situation is for Vettel and Mammal right now.
But look at the gap.
Vettel and Mammal have nothing.
Yeah, but look at that gap. Ifilipic already pulled out second on the cars behind. So
on softs and they're dead after 6 laps. I think this is going to be so interesting at the line.
But that's usually on the ones that the people have qualified on, so I think he can get 8 laps out of them. I think he can. Hurricane's coming to the pit lane, and he's taken the fight. He is done. His race is completely finished. Hurricane, there is no way he's on the podium this evening, unfortunately, I don't think, for him.
No, he is definitely going to drop. Definitely going to drop. He is going to go for the soft strategy. Vettel needs to catch up Ifilipic as best he can here.
Yeah, Ifilipic, I think he's fine. I think Ifilipic is fine. That 5 seconds isn't ideal for him, but even if he did pick up at 3 seconds, I think the pace he's got on those softs, just look at the time. He's taking over 2 seconds out of them a lap,
yeah,
but
he's you know what? The pace that he's pulling out of Vettel is so massive. Like, I did not think that the pace differential would be that massive between the mediums and softs at this low tire life. But oh man, the penalties, I really don't know how they're going to play, because right now he's got it. Right now he's got it. If he takes another penalty, it's going to be touch and go, and he's
I
pushing.
think he's got it either way. He's going to be 8 seconds ahead by the end of this race, for sure.
Well, at the very least, he's got to be nervous.
It depends how confident he is in his abilities, because right now it looks like there's nothing that could break, apart from that late safety car. If we had a late safety car around here, that would be the end of it.
Well, he is absolutely cooking. Yeah, 135.812 coming out of the Croatian driver.
Dirk's just taking Crampy for 11th, and this battle's still very much alive and well down at the middle of this grid.
We still have a little bit of potential for a safety car here, which would really throw a monkey wrench in everything. But one thing I'll say is, it's extremely funny considering the video of Ifilipic taking out Vettel, essentially, from yesterday's practice. They're running 1-2 right now in the racing points, so maybe there was some serious team building had after that incident.
Well, I think that here in the full league race, they're just going to be super on it. Steph, after retiring in the pit lane, he's left the session.
Hurricane looking at Mario. He looked at the inside, held it. He's going to have to look for that move another time. Softs versus mediums.
Well, I believe this has already displayed the pace of the softs around here. But obviously Hurricane just too many penalties to be able to do anything for the rest of this. Crampy's come into the pit lane. He's going off a 16 lap old hards. Not favouring those tyres anymore.
Jake just keeping with Kana here. I think Jake might get him.
Well, I think I'll definitely get him by the end of this race. Those mediums are going to be alive and well all the way through, and he's against aging hards, so I wouldn't be surprised. Hurricane around the double left-hander. That's turn 22 and 23. He's just going to fly past Mario on the DRS straight down into turn 1.
Yeah, and there's that clear-cut soft speed right there that you were mentioning with Felipe. 8.5 seconds is now the gap between Vettel and the speed on those. I will say this, I definitely underestimated it because I had Felipe pinned for a podium, but not the win after the penalty he took in the pit lane. But even I can definitely make mistakes and poor judgments because he is just cooking.
Yeah, he's absolutely blistering. It's always going to be a risk to do that. And I think the reason he did it, I was saying it before he pitted, I just think he just wanted to... Because you've got to remember as well, there's a championship at stake, and what he did has ruined Hurricane's race. Because he forced Hurricane's hand. Him and Hurricane, they stayed out, and Felipe, he had that gap to Mammal behind. He had that gap, and he took it. Even though he took that 5 seconds penalty, he knew he would have the pace. He believed in his abilities. And he just knew that he could take those soft tyres at the end of this race and just blast away. Whereas Hurricane, he did not have the gap to cover him from behind. And like you said, coming out into the traffic was going to be a problem. And for Hurricane, that problem is now alive and well. Here you can see him struggling. You can't get past through this section of the track. He's on the soft tyres. He should be going much faster through this section. But what's that in front of him? A slow-moving Mercedes of Jake, who's just struggling big time right now on those 7-lap-old mediums. Here goes Hurricane. He's used up pretty much all of his ERS. He's going to take 5th place, but the penalty situation kind of picked up 3 seconds on the last run through this first section, I do believe. So,
well, look at what Jake did. Jake didn't even fight him coming on the straight. He knew. He's like, yeah, I'm going to just let you by. But why did he let him by? Because there's no point in fighting because he's on the softs, or is it because of the penalties? Jake will know what penalties he's got.
For sure, if he knows the penalties, then there's no reason of fighting someone with... Well, I think he's got at least 11 seconds right now in that Ferrari.
He has definitely stacked them up for sure, but we'll have to see if Kana knows it at the moment, considering he might not have an opportunity to ask his engineer.
Well, Kana's got at least 3 himself.
Yeah, well, I want to see what happens between Kana and Hurricane. Because look at the differential from softs. We're not even looking at the differential between softs and mediums anymore. We're looking at it between the hards. And some older hards at that. DRS overtake still being utilized right now. Kana putting his car in the right places. Here we have it. Wheel to wheel on the exit though. Hurricane with good traction. He is going to get through, or is he? Still, Kana holding. He goes deep. He really compromises his exit of that corner. Jake is breathing down the McLaren's neck, and there's contact. They both come around. Jake's going to look to sneak through both of them here, but Kana has lost out to his teammate in Mario.
That is hugely unfortunate. Stewart's going to have a look at that one. Onboards obviously provided by the drivers. It's going to aid in that investigation, but both the Ferrari and the McLaren going very sideways, and it's Jake the real winner out of that one. He's up into P5. Mario as well, past his teammate like you said. Neither of them going to be too disappointed with it. Obviously, Jake, the constructor's not going to be affected by that result for him. But super unfortunate for that battle to end in that way. And Hurricane now a little bit of clear air behind him. Maybe, I don't even think he's going to be able to get fastest lap. I think Felipic has taken that crown, judging by his qualifying lap on the Inters. I don't think there's any stopping him.
He's got Mario catching him quite rapidly in that McLaren. So we'll have to see what the P6 driver is able to do. He's had a bit of a brush at the very least on my screen with the wall there, but no damage to speak of. But he is within that, 4 to 6, 7 tenths range. He is going to have DRS to bring him ever so closer. Jake not having the DRS on Hurricane ahead, just perhaps the penalty advantage.
Yeah, and they're still well. They've only got 1 lap to go. As Felipic is on lap 30. These guys are not lapped, of course, so they have. Well, actually, they've got 2 laps to go because Felipic is on that 30th lap, but these guys are still on lap 29 of the race. Crampy's out of the race. Yeah,
Crampy's just retired, but like he's done it in the pit lane. Of course, he's out. No safety cars at this point. We're on the penultimate lap, and I have to say, for everybody in the chat, everybody watching this race, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a very, very unique battle of strategy and penalties here. 20 drivers began, 16 remaining on this grid as we come to the close now of the race. But something to talk about before we jump on board with Jake in this battle with Mario is there hasn't been a single safety car in this race. So let's get some Pog champs in the chat for those of you that have been tuning in, because that's Singapore. I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah,
first time we've ever done this race for MRL.
Codders, he's out as well in the pit lane. Don't know why they quite do that in the last couple of laps of this race. With DNF on their record. But they could just drive another lap or two. Felipic crossing onto that final lap. His gap 12.9 seconds to his teammate Vettel behind. He has absolutely flown ever since he came out of that pit lane 6 laps ago. And now he's just got to do 1 more lap around Singapore and that trophy is his.
It's a tough circuit, Singapore. 23 turns, a very long race, a very long lap, 31 laps. Jake has fallen to Mario. And I have to say, considering how Lutra's strategy choice was a big gamble, he still came back with a good recovery into 8th position in that one Mercedes. But Jake, although in P6 right now, I think he may inherit a couple more positions at the line, at the very least 1 from perhaps Hurricane. He's made it up 6 positions from where he started. Vettel, as you said, having a stellar drive. He's up 6 slots. Mammal in his debut. Is poised to collect a podium, which is not easy from what we've seen all season.
Hurricane's out.
Has fired the car.
He hasn't retired it. He's crushed it straight into the wall.
Yeah, he has had a major issue resulting in terminal damage. That front left is gone. So quite a few drivers are going to inherit some position now. Not just those within his penalty range, but I think that was well, I really hope. Oh dear. So Felipic crosses the line now, checkered flag. Adam and Bajarn, the first 2 to catch it early. Vettel now rounding the final 2 turns of 22 and 23 here in Singapore. The Racing Points collect the 1-2. Felipic with the win. Vettel there, his teammate, doing it well as well in second. And Mammal collects his maiden podium in MRL as a reserve.
Mario, strong drive from him. Absolutely destroying Jake in those last few laps as well.
Jake, stellar drive up 7 positions here. Kana coming around in the McLaren now.
Lucha. Like you said, a nice recovery drive after that. First few laps, the softs, not what he wanted to start on, and then he lost his end plate as well, but a nice recovery drive for him to take 7th place. Multiple points there for him. Beavisk as well. 8th place for the Renault driver. He taps the wall as he crosses it. Relapse. He's going to come home in 9th place. And Tim, as a result of Hurricane's retirement, looks to be inheriting 10th place, but if he's got more penalties than Dirk might steal that final point from him. Depending on how these two...
Dirk will really want that point coming from the rear of this grid. He's up 9 positions right now. Coming to the line. Is it going to be a point for Dirk Chocolate? Oh, I didn't get to see it. It's not. So Dirk was not able to secure the final points position here, but a stellar drive regardless. He gets awarded the game's driver of the day, making up 9 positions, the most positions made up by any driver in this race. But there we have it. Felipic with the race win. His teammate Vettel doing a solid job there in second with the 1-2 locked down for the Racing Point squad. And the Haas of Mammal on the podium. So a Croatian, a Mexican, and a Brit here in Singapore. What a unique podium that is for sure. One heck of a race, Unicorn, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Those 2 racing points absolutely nailed the strategy. Yeah, I think Felipic playing some mind games with Hurricane really paid off for him. He takes first. Vettel 8th to 2nd. What a drive from him as well. Really nice stuff for him. Mammal in 3rd place. Also worth noting, Felipic did pick up that 3-second time penalty. He finished with 8 seconds of penalties. Mario in P4 from 3rd on the grid. Not too bad for him, but it'd be disappointing he didn't see himself up on that podium. Then we have Jake 12th to 5th, a strong drive from him. Connor 5th to 6th, Lucha 6th to 7th, Beavisk 7th to 8th. Then we have Relapse in 9th. Tim rounds out the top 10, just sneaking in that final point. Dirk Chocolate, he had the penalty, Tim didn't, so even if Tim did pick up a penalty, he wouldn't have lost the position there. But again, drive of the day for him, very impressive drive. Hurricane in P12, DNF'd, but ahead of Atom and Bajar, and he's finished out enough of the laps that he's still classed as a finish. Like I said, Atom beats out Bajar on penalties. Shinikari in 15th place. Codders and Crampy both retired their car in the pit lane. Just a few laps from the end. Steph, Ruben and Basel all retiring at the end as well. Looking at the incidents here, we'll get those all put on stream. A lot of warnings here for multiple drivers. And I should imagine most of them are from that first sector.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, for those of you tuning in, don't go too far. We're going to be rating a random member of the community in just a moment's time. We would love to make someone's day, and we'd love to have you with us along for the raid train. So we are going to wrap this up in just a few moments' time. But yeah, just a superlative drive from Felipic there, even with the penalties. He had me fooled there. I thought that for sure the penalties might have cost him a win. He pulled it out. He went absolutely blistering pace on those hards. He pulled out a major gap on Hurricane, who's no slouch. Of course, Hurricane's in the top running right now in the points, in that, the top 10. And, he's led this championship. We have now Felipic, if I'm not mistaken, with this race when he's now taken lead of the driver's standings. But it's just been an overall fantastic race. We've got 4 more of these races happening this week. It begins on Thursday with the Oceanic Grid. We have Tier 2 and Tier 1 action. Following that on Friday, it's the Club Division, which has been absolutely wild. It's basically the sandbox of all the divisions now, with all the fastest drivers showing up to play, and it's been very intense. No endurance series this week, but we have the F2, I believe, coming this Sunday, and we have just a ton of fun stuff happening. Of course, thank you so much to everybody who has been supporting it and following along. Of course, Unicorn, any closing statements before we head on over and raid?
I just think that was just super interesting race. I've said it during the race, but I love it when strategy comes into play so much, and it's just watching those drivers. You've got Felipic just making it out of the pit lane ahead of his teammate and Mammal, and it's just super exciting stuff. It's not always on track at somewhere like Singapore, but It's all happening on the timing tower. You're looking at the tyres. It's just a super exciting race. Really good job from the 2 racing points, as well as a few stellar drives from elsewhere on the grid as well. But yeah, brilliant race.
Yeah, brilliant race. But that is it for us. We will bid you guys farewell until Thursday, when we will be back again for more racing action. We are going to head off and raid. So thank you so much. Thank you if you jump in with the raid. Show some love. We like to support the community. So it's going to be a heck of a good time.